welcome and happy Fat Tuesday. I hope you found a way to celebrate this last day of Mardi Gras festivities, even if you're here in Wisconsin. I'm so glad that you are here, though. I'm Marcia Conant. I'm the Southeast Regional Consultant, and we're going to be talking about tutor recruitment, retention, and training with three of my very favorite people. Cheryl Hernandez is the executive director of the Kenosha Literacy Council, and she believes strongly in investing in her community to make it a better place. And I can testify that she indeed does that. In her 16 years at the Kenosha Literacy Council, the organization has seen tremendous growth. She works to ensure the Kenosha Literacy Council provides innovative, research-based literacy programs and continues to strengthen its presence in their community. She volunteers in a variety of roles and is actively involved in the Rotary Club of Kenosha West as their past president. Cassie Christensen is the Kenosha Literacy Council's program coordinator. She's been there for 12 years. They support adult learners, or she supports adult learners as they achieve their goals and overcome challenges. She utilizes experiential learning methods that allow students to develop English skills and become active participants in their community. In her efforts to promote student success, Cassie also provides training and resources to equip Kenosha Literacy Council's volunteer tutors. And finally, a person who needs a very little introduction, Beth Gitan is with us today. You know her as the Southwest South Central Regional Literacy Consultant. And Beth comes with a very strong and varied background in tutor training, both in ELL as well as ABE. So these three very special people will be presenting our program today. So Cheryl, it's all yours. Oop, you're muted. You need to unmute.
Cheryl, I think you're muted.
Yeah.
So we just have a question up on the screen for everyone to take a second to look it over and put your thoughts in the comments or in the chat box. Just to kind of get us in the right frame of mind for our presentation this afternoon, all about volunteers and tutor training and recruiting new volunteers. So we would love to hear from all of you. What are some of the things that you've done? What do you think works best? Have you tried anything unique or unusual?
So far, we're seeing word of mouth seems to work best for our organization, and personal asks. Our newsletter, they've tried posters in various locations, word of mouth. Someone who is just starting. They've made presentations, oops, I just lost it, to local service clubs, asking for tutors, explaining what PALC is doing, radio ads, Jefferson County Literacy Council, Facebook, organizations, community meetings, posters. I heard about a member who uses NPR to advertise their need for tutors. And we're currently partnering with some other area nonprofits to host an afternoon where prospective volunteers can drop in and learn more about our organization and needs, church bulletin announcements. And let's see, I just lost that one, sorry. Currently partnered with Beloit College, where some of their students are volunteering as tutors. So they have rack cards. groups, word of mouth, other nonprofits in the area, school events, volunteer fairs, newspaper. One person, they do a monthly volunteer intro meetings and Zoom, and the information is on their website.
All good ideas. Feel free to keep sharing those in the chat as we go along, and we'll circle back to them. And then too, as we get started, if you have questions, you can feel free to put those in the chat, and we're gonna do the questions kind of towards the end of the presentation a little bit. I was surprised I didn't hear anyone say that they had a float in their local parade. And we had a mascot dress up as a bookmark one year too. That was very exciting. So we're just going to talk a little bit about the different ways that we have recruited volunteers here at the Literacy Council. So a lot of you mentioned them already, right? Hopefully your organizations are active on social media. So we use Facebook and Instagram and all of those other things to get the word out about the Literacy Council, not just for kind of volunteer requests, but general information about our organization as well. Lots of community events and presentations in the community. So talking at our local Rotary organizations or other similar organizations like that. We have, you can see in one of the pictures, we have some board members out with some information about the Literacy Council promoting us at a fundraiser that we had. We also do radio and newspaper. So we have occasionally had volunteers write kind of opinion pieces that go in the newspaper for us, which always get great feedback. And then volunteer matching websites and organizations. So in our community, you know, maybe you have a volunteer center. We have our United Way that kind of serves in that capacity. We also have a retired volunteer group where they kind of keep information about many different organizations and volunteer opportunities in the community. So making sure that those things are up to date so people can find us. Lots of word of mouth and making those personal asks. So our volunteers and our board members are our best recruiters because they can speak passionately about why the organization is important to them and how they feel like they make an impact. We started something kind of during the COVID crazy years where we have yard signs that people can put up at their business or in their house. And it just talks about the Literacy Council, so you can kind of see that at the law office there. He's putting up a yard sign that has our website and information about us. And it just is a conversation starter with our volunteers and their neighbors, right, to spread the word about the Literacy Council. And then something new that we've been trying recently that somebody mentioned they're doing as well is in addition to our regularly scheduled tutor training sessions, we've been holding more information meetings. So those information meetings are just an hour. They're on Zoom or in person. And so we've been holding those on a more frequent basis and then following up and getting people involved in the training. And then just sharing a little bit, I think it's always fun to see what other organizations are doing, and so you can get ideas from them. So we're just sharing a couple of the ways that we promote the Literacy Council through social media or when we're out in public, so posters and things. We always try to include our website or a QR code that goes to information about tutor training to make it really easy for people who see that post in the community. So some places that we use that, right? People mention posters that can go up, you know, at libraries or college campuses and things like that. But we've also done it where they're part of like a table tent that a restaurant will let us put up. And so then that's a great way for people to learn about the Literacy Council as well. And just an example of one of our social media posts that we use. Like I said, it's always fun to kind of see, I think, what other organizations are doing and then learn from that a little bit. So those are some of the things that we do to recruit tutors. I don't know if in the chat we can take a look if anybody else has shared any new things. Oh, somebody mentioned restaurant, having placemats at restaurants. I think that's a fun way. The Racine Literacy Council was in their parade as well. Volunteer fairs, right? So lots of good information about new ways to get the word out. I'm going to turn it over to Cassie a little bit. And she's going to talk about our tutor training process some more. Oh.
Yeah, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the new tutor requirements for tutoring. So at the Kenosha Literacy Council, we do use a blended model for our tutor training. So it requires our volunteers to have some basic technology skills. So they have to be able to use their email and go through some online training modules that we have as part of our training. And if the volunteers come to us and they really don't have those technology skills, then we talk to them about other ways they might be able to contribute to our organization, like volunteering with us during fundraisers and such things like that. Our volunteers also complete observation hours and do some co-teaching through our tutoring sessions, and they do that all as part of their training. So before they're even placed with a student to work on their own, they have to do all of that co-teaching and observation. Within our tutor training, they do a lot of role play with their fellow volunteers, and they are learning the curriculum that we use with our students. So you can see in a picture here, the students are the volunteers, sorry, are role playing being students and volunteers, and they're using the books that our students would use. So we're immersing them into the curriculum. And then in addition to their initial training, we also do 2 tutor in-services. So we do one in the spring and we do one in the fall. And it provides opportunities for the students to build on their skills. We really look at the initial training as how to get them into the program and get started with the training and how to use the curriculum with the students. But then we build on that with a lot more of the background and theory to help support them throughout their volunteer experience with us. So some screening and onboarding things that we do with our tutors. Our training really is designed to serve as the screening process. So throughout their training, we can kind of see where the volunteers are with their technology skills. We know that even more so after COVID, technology is really just a part of our everyday lives, and we know that students need those skills. They're essential to our everyday life. So we just want to make sure that our volunteers are able to help them in those fields as well as literacy. The activities that we do within our training are designed to help us learn about their personalities. So just an example of that is we talk about multiple intelligences and how to incorporate those while we work with students with different multiple intelligences. And we ask the volunteers which intelligences they relate to as well, so we can learn a little bit more about them in an informal way. Observation and student teaching, like I said before, is built into the training process. So the volunteers complete a minimum of 4 hours of co-teaching and observation, and then we provide direct support for them after that 4 hours as well. Through these observations and co-teachings, we can really see how the volunteers are interacting with the students and kind of see where their strengths lie and the challenges that they might be having as they're working with students. So as I mentioned, we've been using a blended model for many years now. We've comprised materials based off of Pro Literacy's online classes, and then some things that the Kenosha Literacy Council has put together as well. So those are our online modules. And in addition to the online modules that they do independently at home, we do in-person training. So we discuss the material that they went over online in person and kind of dig a little bit deeper into the theory behind adult learning, and the components of literacy and how that applies to the curriculum that we use at the Literacy Council, so we can connect all of the dots for them. The curriculum is taught in person just because we need to use the materials in hand to be able to learn how to use them. And they have to do their observation hours with a volunteer and a student on site at the Literacy Council as well. So we really find that blended model works well for volunteers because they can do a portion of the learning at their own pace and on their own timeline at home, and then also do more of the in-person stuff with us, which allows for them to ask questions directly about the material that they're going over. The volunteers work within our drop-in tutoring program at the Literacy Council as their very first experience with us. It really serves as a way for them to gain experience. Not only working with the curriculum, but also just learning how to work with adult learners and gaining skills to be able to work with our learners. And while they're doing that, we're learning more about them as well. So we get to learn about their personality and kind of their preferences, and maybe learn about some of their special skills that don't really necessarily come out of the curriculum, but things that are related to their work experience or special hobbies and interests that they have as well. So as far as supervising our volunteers go, we have set times at the Literacy Council that all of our volunteers come to and our students come to at the same time. So we have 4 set days of the week that we offer tutoring. And we really find that to be beneficial because we can get everybody together in the same room. And when we can do that, we can really create that sense of community amongst our learners and also our volunteers. One of the best parts of volunteering is being able to create relationships with other people. So that's one of the ways that we do that, is by making sure they're connecting with people, other volunteers at the Literacy Council. Because we're together at the same time, we can communicate program updates with them. So maybe there are new programs starting at the Literacy Council, or possibly a policy change of some sort that we need everyone to be aware of, or a fundraiser that's coming up that we want everyone to know about. We can communicate with everybody during those tutoring sessions. It also allows for us to easily report hours and the progress of the students, which is something important to all of our programs. And we can give them a direct support and check in on our volunteers and our students regularly. So this applies to both in person and then also in our Zoom sessions that we have volunteers and students that meet at the same time, a group of volunteers and students that meet on Zoom, and we put them in breakout rooms. So even though they're working one-on-one in a breakout room, they're really all on the same Zoom meeting. And we can kind of have that same impact or effect as if they were here in person during a tutoring session. Another thing that we found really beneficial for our volunteers is that we use very specific time commitments for things. So majority of our volunteers participate in our drop-in tutoring program. So they get to work with multiple students, but then we do have some one-on-one matches that they meet with a specific student. So a good example of that is our Zoom tutoring. with these students and tutor matches, they work together or are matched for 2 months or 3 months at a time. And then we review the progress and maybe rematch the student with a different volunteer. So we think, or we know, or we've gotten feedback from volunteers that they like having that really specific time commitment rather than an ongoing commitment that could possibly, you don't really know when it's going to be over. So that's just been some positive feedback we've gotten from some volunteers by doing that. We really like to get some input from our volunteers. So a way that we do that is by surveying them. So once in a while, we might have them fill out a survey. We might be asking them about their availability, finding out which days and times are best for our volunteers. We like to know if our volunteers prefer to do virtual things or in-person things. And then sometimes we just like to hear from them what's working and what's not working, or maybe they have ideas to share about topics for our next in-service or special workshops that we might do. Now let Cheryl take over from here with well, actually, I'll do this. I'm sorry. So as I mentioned before, a big part of volunteering, right? The volunteers come because they want to connect and contribute to their community. And so when we host our in-services for our volunteers, we not only are teaching them skills that apply to their roles as tutors, but we're giving them an opportunity to really connect and build friendships with the other volunteers at the Literacy Council. And also we can take that time to show them our appreciation for everything that they do for our students at the Literacy Council. As I mentioned before, a lot of times these in-services, the topics are based off of input from the volunteers or things that we see that they have questions about, or maybe trends going on within our community.
All right. Thank you, Cassie. We've learned lots about training volunteers, both like that initial training when they start with our organization and then ongoing training through Tutor in-services. And since we spent all of that time and energy getting them trained and ready to be effective volunteers for our organization, we definitely want to make sure they stick with us for a while, right? We want to make sure they're happy at the Literacy Council and they continue volunteering in a way that works for their schedule and a way that's meaningful for them. So lots of different ways that we do that. Cassie talked a little bit about the first one through those in-service opportunities twice a year. But we also do tutor engagement activities on a regular basis. And this has changed from time to time. Sometimes it has to do with a certain holidays coming up. We just did something for Valentine's Day as an example. Sometimes it's just a monthly kind of check-in. But we've really gotten feedback from our volunteers that for many of them, one of the main reasons they want to volunteer is kind of that social interaction, right? To make friends, to meet other people. And so we like to give our volunteers a way to do that. And so we might meet for lunch, or we might meet for a coffee time. We might get together and celebrate a holiday. So just some kind of fun activities for the volunteers to get together. Sometimes they might ask us some questions about things that come up in tutoring. Sometimes we might talk a little bit about the Literacy Council and events that are coming up and things like that. But the general idea is that it's a time for the volunteers to learn about each other and talk with each other and kind of develop those friendships. And we found that it's really been a beneficial way to keep the volunteers engaged and involved. Another way that we work on retaining the volunteers is through communication and communicating in a variety of different ways. So we send emails regularly that have program updates. Cassie puts together a tutor tips email every month that goes out just for our volunteers, and it's focused on volunteering and tutoring. So there's usually something in there that's kind of research-based, an article to help them learn a little bit about something they might see in adult education or tutoring. There's also a focus on a new resource, so some kind of resource that we have here at the Literacy Council that they could be using. There's also a program spotlight, so one of our programs or classes that the volunteers might not know as much about, and then also just a fun question for them to talk about during the month. And so that email goes out to the volunteers every month, in addition to kind of our normal agency newsletter that goes out to lots of people, right? This one is specific to our volunteers. We also do phone calls to volunteers, and we send cards in the mail. Often for Volunteer Appreciation Week, we have, you can see an example of one of these, but we have our students write thank you notes to the volunteers, and then we send them to them in the mail. So that's a kind of warm fuzzy for them to get in the mail. We don't get a lot of good snail mail these days, so it's kind of a fun surprise for them. So those are just some of the ways that we communicate with the volunteers. I'm sure you guys have lots of examples too. And then we also retain volunteers by recognizing them in different ways. And all of the volunteers, I think, want to be recognized differently. And so that's something that we bring up in that survey that we do with the volunteers. I mean, and from time to time, we've had volunteers say, you know what, I don't want to be recognized. I don't want to get an award or something like that. And then we respect that, right? But a lot of the volunteers do, and they work hard for us. And so we want to show them our appreciation, and we try to do it in different ways to kind of hit those different personalities and what might be meaningful for each volunteer. So I mentioned the personal thank you notes from students. So there's another example of one of those thank you notes and how we maybe use the words from our students to thank the volunteers. We also have an event each year called our Read to Succeed Award Celebration. And at that event, part of what we do is recognize our volunteers. So we have a Volunteer of the Year each year, and we recognize volunteers based on the level of years they've been a volunteer. And also we recognize the volunteers that have volunteered 100 or more hours during the past year. So that's kind of a more formal way to recognize the volunteers. But then we try to do fun, informal things throughout the year, and especially during Volunteer Appreciation Week, which, if you don't know, is coming up towards the end of April every year. And so that's a fun way for us to focus on our volunteers and all the great things that they do for us. And we usually do some fun little gifts and things for them. So that's just an example. One year everyone got muffins when they came in to volunteer. So that's just one example of the things that we do. And then just some recommendations, kind of things that we picked up during our experience working with volunteers. Definitely don't be afraid to try something new or change when something's not working anymore. I mean, things always change, right? You get new groups of people and maybe something was working really well, but you need to change it up. So definitely jump in and try something new. Change when you feel like something maybe needs to be a little more fresh or different. Tutoring isn't the right volunteer opportunity for everyone, and that's okay. So not everybody is going to be a great volunteer tutor. Not everyone's going to love it. Not everyone's going to have quite the personality or skill set for it. And so when we come across those folks, we try to help them kind of see that maybe it might not be the right fit for them, and then give them some other ideas of ways that they can either give back to our organization or just a different volunteer opportunity in the community that might be a better fit for them. We really want to focus on using the skills and the talents of our volunteers. So our volunteers come from all different backgrounds and different experience levels, and we want to use those talents. So one example of that is we have a volunteer that has a great background in art and was a museum director in her previous life. And so she runs an art club for us with our students each summer, where they can explore different art places in the community and have practice their English conversation while talking about art. And so we can do that because she's an expert in that field. Another example, maybe we have a lawyer, somebody who was a lawyer or is a lawyer, and they help out in our citizenship class. Another example, we have a volunteer who just loves nature and has his own club where people go hiking and biking and all kinds of fun nature activities. And so he organizes activities like that for our students, where they can go out into nature and practice English conversation while kind of exploring new places in the community. So those are all just some different examples of ways to really focus on what unique skill set does this volunteer have, and how can we use that to benefit our students and our programs at the Literacy Council. And then we always want to be able to provide a space that is supportive, and we want our volunteers to feel a part of our organization. And so that just to have that sense of connection to our organization and to our students, I think is really important. So that's the main part of the information we have for you today. We would love to answer questions. So if you thought of ideas or questions as we were talking, we'd love to kind of talk about those things now, if anyone has questions.
Feel free to unmute or just ask them in the chat, whichever you prefer.
I just have
Go ahead,
more of a, I just have more of a comment. The tutor meetings that are offsite, if organizations can hold those at local coffee shops or restaurants, it's just another way to build a connection with a small business in your area, which of course, may lead to event sponsorships or, other opportunities, and then also just continuing to build awareness of, your program and the need for volunteers. So, Kenosha does a great job of doing in-service, opportunities on site, but then also doing tutor lunches and tutor coffee chats around Kenosha. And, again, just building overall awareness and building connections within the community is so important.
Thank you.
Yeah, a question came to mind. You were talking earlier about having muffins for everybody. How do you afford that? I mean, do you budget a certain amount of money for recognition? Do you have to fundraise for that? How do you afford it?
Sure. So we, as a nonprofit, are always trying to do things the least expensive way that we can. We do have a small amount of money budgeted for volunteer recognition. So that is part of our budget. We feel like that, we can't do what we do. We can't serve our students without our volunteers. So we do have a small amount set aside in our budget. But then most of the things that we do, we try to do very, very low cost, right?
There is one question. Have you worked with any correctional institutions? And if so, what kind of advice would you give to someone trying to get a program off the ground at a correctional facility?
Sure, we have. We've worked with our local county detention center and done some tutoring and programming with them. And I think, for us to get the program started, it definitely depended on having a person within the correction center that was kind of advocating for that and could be our partner in making that work. But as far as volunteers, you know, just again, taking a look at the skill set of your volunteers and finding the folks that would really be best for that environment, right? And the ones that we had ended up being great. So I think it's just finding the right person that wants to have that kind of volunteer experience.
Cassie, are there any other questions in the chat? Oh,
Not really questions, a few comments.
okay.
Deb wanted to thank Cheryl and Cassie for the excellent info and presentation. And just a kudos to Cheryl and Cassie for doing an amazing job with small but meaningful gifts for the volunteers. And Levon thanked you for your answer to his question.
Okay, perfect.
We're always happy to answer questions or share resources. So our information is there. Feel free to reach out to us if you want a copy of anything, like what kind of flyer do you use, or example of posts that we might have, or some of those little thank you gifts that we've done or anything like that. Feel free to reach out. We're happy to share.
Sure, and hang on, because there'll be a chance to ask questions again at the end of the program. So Cheryl and Cassie aren't going anywhere, I don't think. And we're going to move on now to Beth. And Beth is going to talk about the tutor training that is being offered by Wisconsin Literacy. Beth, it's all yours.
Perfect. First of all, actually, I'm going to stop sharing real quickly just so I can see everybody. First of all, can you raise your hand or let me know if you have used Wisconsin Literacy's new tutor training series? Anybody, if you can do like the thumbs up or the hand raise. All right, I'm seeing a couple. Excellent. So hopefully this will be some new information for lots of folks. Perfect. Okie dokie. So this is our website, and I want to introduce you to our new tutor training series. So from our website, you would go to trainings and to tutor training. And you'll notice we have two different options. If you are a tutor, or you can send your tutors, you can press this button. Today, we're going to spend most of our time right here on I am a tutor coordinator. So we have a few different options you can choose. You've got ELL tutor training, adult literacy, or what many of us have been accustomed to calling ABE tutor training. And then we have a digital literacy tutor training. We also right down here have an upcoming tutor training sessions. So our new training series, we deliver it in two different ways. So first of all, twice a year, we will be adding a live Zoom series. So you can sign up and you can join us 4 times on Zoom to complete the series. You also at any time can complete the training through recordings on our website. So you can always find the upcoming recordings on this calendar. And if you click it, so let's see here, we've got our ABE tutor training is it may not be, let's see if it's, yep. So it's going to be coming up in June. So if you're interested in the live ABE tutor training series, you can find it on our calendar and you can click here, the first session. You'll have everything that you need to register and to get any information that you need before the training starts. So if we go back, we're going to take a look. So our ELL tutor training, we just completed a live session. So we'll have another one again in the fall, around the fall. So what will you do if you've got folks who want to do the ELL tutor training series? You can first introduce your tutors to the training series. So you can use this template right here. So open this out. You can edit it to best fit your agency's needs. All right. And it's an introduction. Why should you attend this tutor training series? You've got information for new tutors. Some agencies have reached out to us and they've said, I've got tutors who have been tutoring, but I want them to do this training. So here's some information on why the tutor training series could be helpful to experienced tutors. We've got some information on how tutors can access the tutor training. So you can join the live sessions. You can watch the recorded training session, or you can follow a just-in-time tutor training model. So this just-in-time training is something that I'm really passionate about. So it really is a model that provides contextualized training that you can use with strategies you use immediately. So you would do part of the training before you're matched with a learner, but then you do the bulk of the training while you have a learner. And the idea is that if you're doing the tutor training while you are matched with a learner, you have a different context. It's more authentic, and you can use the strategies you learn about immediately as opposed to trying to tuck them away and then bring them out later. So you can find this letter on our website. You can copy and paste it into an email and edit to your heart's content. It's completely for you to use to introduce our tutor training series to your tutors. So what we recommend is a seven-step training process. So first, all new tutors, anybody who does the live Zoom sessions or decides to do all of the training sessions online, watch the recorded versions, everybody is going to start with a 1-hour self-paced introduction to adult education. And so you will click that and you will push play, and you will be able to go through and complete this 1-hour tutor training, self-paced, what you need to know, kind of a getting started option. Next, we recommend that you as the agency would begin your orientation and vetting process. So one thing that's nice about, say you've got a tutor who's interested, I want to be a tutor, sending them to this, to have them watch the Tutoring Adults What You Need to Know is a good first step to, they can learn the very basics of what it means to be a tutor, an adult literacy or ELL tutor. And then if they're still interested, they can come back to you. And then you would be beginning your orientation and your vetting process. So we've got a lot of information. We won't dive into it today, but I just want to show you quickly. We've got a lot of information on our website about kind of best practice in screening and onboarding. So you can see volunteer applications, samples, contracts, confidentiality agreements, information on background checks, lots of different information in this page right here. So however your agency does your vetting, we recommend starting that process after folks watch this step 1 video. Then folks would begin the either ELL or ABE training series. So it's 4 parts. So there's ELL and ABE tutor training getting started. That's for all ELL and ABE tutors. And folks can either register for a live Zoom session or they can watch it on our website. So you've got the choice to watch the recording right here. It's about 1 hour and 20 minutes. Whoops. Got some letters. I don't actually want to do that. And then you also can make sure that you get the post-training handouts. Sometimes we have pre-training handouts, presentation slides, everything that you will need to actively participate in the training, you'll find on this page. After, so if you're following the just-in-time tutor training model, after you watch this ELL and ABE tutor training getting started video recorded session, we recommend starting to match. So again, we've got lots of information on our website about tutor learner matching. So just welcome you to please come and check out these resources. And then while folks are beginning their relationship with their learners, we recommend that they do the last 3 parts of the training series. So ELL or ABE, Tutor Training 1, Tutor Training 2, Tutor Training 3. So again, you can register for live sessions, or they can complete each of these trainings independently. Got the pre-training handouts, the recording, post-training handouts, the presentation slides, and each of these sessions has the same information. Now, when a tutor has completed all of the recordings, we invite you to, and we can help work with you to decide how you're going to make sure that they completed the training. Is it going to be a short survey? Are you going to ask them, have an interview and ask them some specific questions, whatever works best for your agency. But then we have a template also of a certificate that you can give to them. For any tutor that completes the Wisconsin Literacy Live sessions, if they complete the entire series, we will give them a certificate, and we'll also send them a bag, like a tote that has the Wisconsin Literacy logo, says "Ask Me About Tutoring," and we've put some of the manipulatives that we talk about throughout the training series. They'll get a bag of those manipulatives. So we really hope that lots of folks will join us in these live sessions. And then Cheryl and Cassie mentioned it. Professional development. Ongoing professional development is always a great way to engage your volunteers, to make sure that that they feel connected to your agency, that they are keeping up with best practice, that they're having time to be with each other. So you can contact us at any time if you've got an idea for professional development, and then you can always click here to find our calendar of upcoming sessions. So the ELL and the ABE pages are identical. I do want to show you quickly what would happen if you click the I'm a Tutor button. So if you click the I'm the Tutor button, you'll choose which session you want. And you'll notice that it's pretty similar to what we just looked at, but they don't go through the whole 7-part process because they're not going to be responsible for their own vetting, orientation, things like that. But we hope that this has been very, very clearly set out, that they will watch Tutoring Adults, What You Need to Know, and then they will watch ELL and ABE tutor training, getting started, and then each of the 1, 2, 3 really sessions that dig into the very specific strategies for tutoring. And then tell your agency when you've completed all of the videos. So I would really love to hear, oh, thanks, Jamie. Would love to hear if you have any questions. If anybody on the call has used the tutor training series, we've heard a lot of great things from around the state. So we've heard of some agencies that are doing kind of like a hybrid. So they're having their tutors watch part of the sessions alone, independently. But then we've heard some agencies who are considering watching the sessions as a group. So reserving a room at the library and having their new tutors come, and they'll watch the recorded Wisconsin literacy sessions together. And in the recorded sessions, we have moments where we'll say pause, either do this individually, or if you're a group, do this with the other folks you're with. So we'll pause for hands-on activities throughout the recorded sessions. So we were super excited to hear just a lot of the different things that are going on in the state with this series. So I'd love to hear from anyone on the call today. Has anybody used it? Any ideas, questions?
Hey, this is Stacy with BPLA. We're definitely a group that's kind of in the hybrid space. So we leverage the Wisconsin Literacy Tutoring Program for a large part of our new hires, or our new volunteers, and then we set aside time to cover specific items that relate to Buffalo Pep Literacy Alliance core policies, procedures, and things like that. So we've definitely seen an improvement in efficiency and time spent by me largely on organizing tutor training by leveraging resources that you guys are putting together. So we're super thankful for your efforts.
Thank you for sharing that, Stacy. That's exactly what our hope is, that we're helping agencies around the state to train your tutors in the way that best fits your agency and community. Thank you. Anybody else or any questions? Anything that you want me to go back to or look at more carefully?
Beth, would you mind popping into one of the sessions like the ELL Tutor Training 1, just to
Yeah.
let folks know that you can kind of look at each session and see what we're going to be covering in those sessions?
Yeah, perfect. So ELL 1, we cover assessment, goal setting and evaluation, lesson planning, getting to know you activities or like your first meeting activities, and then the language experience approach. In the second training, we dive into vocabulary, pronunciation, and conversation. And then in the third session, we dive into reading, grammar, and writing. And it's really important for us to note that digital literacy skills are interspersed throughout the entire training series. We don't have a separate session or separate section for that because that's a part of everything. And if you take a look at the pre-training handouts, oops. Oh, sorry, it'll come up here. And you've got everything that we're going to be doing during the training, the strategies that we're going to show, the manipulatives that we're going to use. You can print them out, you can have them ready to go. So for example, we do an activity with the months of the year. You can have these printed out and ready to go to participate along with us during the recording.
And Beth, we don't have a question, but a very nice comment from Deb, who said, I tried the recorded opening session, what you need to know before passing it on to a new tutor. That opening one is great.
Thank you, Deb. All right. Well, I don't want to, we can definitely, Marcia, I can send it back to you. If you have any questions as you start to dive into the tutor training series, please let us know. We're really excited to roll it out this past year, and we really want it to meet the needs of all of our agencies. So we'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely, Beth. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We've got a few minutes if there are questions for Cheryl and Cassie or anything more specific for Beth. Very happy to take those. There is a question: any advice for tutors who may be a little hesitant to use technology during their sessions? I don't know if any or all of the three of you want to address that.
Practice makes perfect. So hopefully if we are doing technology, things that require technology in our tutor training and in our in-services, and we're modeling that in our tutoring and classes, then the volunteers will become more comfortable with it as time goes along. I think one of the things that we really do is just make sure that our volunteers understand that it's an expectation that we will be using technology, and we're there to support you and help you, but we will use technology, and we will want the tutors to use technology with the students too. So just giving them lots of opportunities to do it with our support.
Great.
I would just echo that. I love that, Cheryl, what you said, that you're making it clear that's an expectation, but you're also making it just as clear that you're along to support. I think that's wonderful. I want to call out our amazing Jamie, the Wisconsin literacy staff. So the same place that we saw the ABE and the ELL tutor training, we can go to this digital literacy tutor training tab. And Jamie does some wonderful tutor trainings that are targeted for digital literacy. And one of the things I really appreciate about her trainings is they're really well paced, and they give folks a chance to in a non-stressful situation to try along with the strategies that she's teaching. And so again, you can see the recorded sessions. We've always got the calendar here of, coming up, or digital literacy sessions that are coming up. And again, you could have your tutors do this independently, or you could get a room and project it and have learners be in a group together, practicing as they're watching the training, and that might build a little bit of a support network and maybe a less scary training situation, perhaps.
Right. And for your tutors who are doing the online version, Jamie does an amazing job of explaining how Zoom works, where to find things, and so those are as much hand holding as we could do in an online version. So not to be afraid of that either.
I want to call out a comment oh, sorry, Cassie, you do that.
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Elizabeth just wrote in the chat that when they have trouble with tech, is that they're modeling the struggle, and it's good for our learners to see a tutor learning too. I love that comment. One of the most effective ELL classes I ever taught was when I admitted to an error that I frequently make. And it just made all the difference to the learners to know that everybody's a learner, and I think it means a lot to them to see their tutors going through a learning experience as well. So thank you for writing that comment, Elizabeth.
Absolutely. Cassie, what were you going to add?
I was going to read the comment, so Beth took care of that. Very good.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, thank you, Cheryl and Cassie and Beth. This was really interesting, and from the comments, it looks like people are taking away a lot of great information. So thank you to those of you who attended today, and watch for a survey that you'll be getting sometime in the next 24 hours. Our next winter conference session is Workplace Literacy Networking at 9:30 tomorrow morning. So if you haven't registered, please go out to our website and register for that if you'd like to attend that or any of the upcoming sessions. And if you enjoyed this session today, please join us for the Big Share on Tuesday, March 5th. It's a fun day of virtual events and ongoing giving that allows Wisconsin literacy to do things like this. So we hope you'll be there, and I know you'll be hearing more about it as we get closer. But again, thank you so much for joining us.